And interestingly, we learned in the last few days this same administration, who is bailing out congressional districts on their websites that don't even exist in this country, now wishes to help bail out this administration as well by imposing a new tax, raising $150 billion, and trying to cover up the amount of rampant deficit spending that is going on and cover up the deficits that they have created in the 9 months in office. So this is a systemic bailout legislation. By any other name, it's the same thing. It's to bail out the excesses and the excessive spending of this administration. Now, to the question of exactly who pays this new tax, and it is a tax, well, that's a question that nobody has an answer for. As we recall, the other day, I asked the chairman who exactly would pay. The underlying legislation speaks to corporations over $10 billion, and we look at the language in the page 2 or 3 of the definitional sections, financial institutions, so on and so forth. We can't get an answer to that yet. So all corporations in this country should be watching these hearings today and saying that if I'm a corporation of $10 billion or so or more in size, I could potentially be subject to this new tax. And likewise, all consumers from any one of those corporations in this country should also be looking at this hearing today and saying that I will indirectly be subject to this new tax because I use the services or products provided by those corporations. So who pays remains to be a question, but at the end of the day, of course, we all will be paying. Another question that remains to be seen is who actually supports this idea? Well, we've heard from the Secretary of Treasury on this. We've heard from the administration on this, and they said that they do not support this idea. And why? Well, actually, it's for an argument that we've been trying to make from day one when the administration and the majority has come forward with their idea of a bailout mentality. When the administration continues to say that we are going to prop up this bailout history that we've had in the past and perpetuate it into the future. Our very own Secretary Geithner said, if you create a fund in advance, there is a risk you're going to create more moral hazard. People will live with the expectation where the government will come in and protect them. And we, the administration, don't want to create that expectation. That is why we think it's better to do it after the fact. Well, this is one area where I agree with the Secretary on. We don't want to create that expectation at all. Unfortunately, their underlying legislation, they create that expectations merely by creating the possibility for bailouts. Here, however, it is heightened by the fact that now that fund will exist from day one, and then all the corporations will know that that is a pot of money that they'll be able to go to. But when I say they're able to go to, I'm really maybe overstating the case. Because as the gentleman from Texas gave through the list, Congress over its years has created a number of other funds supposedly sequestered off the side that were set up for particular purposes. But you know, at the end of the day, the U.S. Congress comes in and basically, by the fact that all dollars are fungible and all parts of the general treasury, uses those dollars anyway. And all that's really left in the fund is a stack of IOUs. And so just as we hear from our senior citizens at home and say, why is it that Congress continues to use the dollars in the Social Security trust funds and leaves down in Virginia just a stack of IOUs, that'll be the same case here as well. That in the day that this fund is ever tapped, the legislation even says they will have to go back to the government, to us, to make sure that the money is there, and all they will find is a stack of IOUs. So, Mr. Chairman, the solution to this is not trying to take a bad bill and make it better by imposing a tax on the industry and on consumers. The solution to the problem is to end the bailout mentality that has been around this House for the last year and a half. The solution is to reject this amendment and to reject the underlying bill and to propose a non-bailout solution to our future. And with that, I yield back.